Students, in lesson 2.4, we are going to be working with partial quotients. Our essential question for this lesson is, how can you use partial quotients to divide by two-digit divisors? So let's start with the unlock the problem. People in the United States eat about 23 pounds of pizza per person every year. If you ate that much pizza each year, how many years would it take you to eat 775 pounds of pizza? Now we're going to pay attention to this blue box here. It says rewrite in one sentence the problem you are asked to solve. So the problem that we are asked to solve is, how many groups of 23 can be made from 775? So let's start with division and divide by using partial quotients. 775 divided by 23. Step 1. Subtract the multiples of the divisor from the dividend until the remaining number is less than the multiple. The easiest partial quotients to use are the multiples of 10. So you'll see in the first example, the divisor was our first factor that we knew. The factor we didn't know was a multiple of 10, which is 10. They also wrote the partial quotient on this side, so it'll be easier for us to add in the end. So let's get going. 23 times 10 is 230. 575 minus 230 is 545. Now we check. This number is less than 20. This number is greater than 23, so we can keep using a multiple of 23 until this number is less than 23. So again, we do 23 times 10, and we get 230. Again, we subtract. 5 minus 0 is 5. 4 minus 3 is 1. 5 minus 3 is 5 minus 2 is 3. We now have 350. Again, we check. 350, is that less than 23? Yes. So we can now use again another multiple of 23. 23 times 10 is 230. Again, we subtract. 5 minus 0 is 5. We can't do 1 minus 0, so we regroup from the 100 and we borrow 100. So now we have 11 minus 3 is 8. Now we check. 85 is less than 23. However, we can no longer use the multiple of 10. We're going to now use a smaller multiple of 23. We're going to use 2. 23 times 2 is 46. So now we, again, subtract. 5 minus 1. Sorry, boys and girls. 5 minus 6 we cannot do, so we're going to have to borrow from the 10 and regroup. 15 minus 6 is 9, and 7 minus 4 is 3. Again, we check. 39 is less than 23, so we can use another multiple. However, the last multiple of 23, 2, we use is too large. So let's use the first multiple of 23, which is 23 times 1. 23 times 1 is 23, and now we subtract. 39 minus 23 is 16. Now, boys and girls, if you go back up to 23, we see that this remaining part of the dividend is left over and is less than 23. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add up all the partial quotients. You see they brought the first one over for us. The second one was 10. The third one was 10. The fourth one was 2. The last one was 1. So we add up all these partial quotients. 10 plus 10 plus 10 is 30, plus 2 is 32, plus 1 more is 33, remainder 16. So what we're going to do is we're going to go on to this part and answer this question and analyze what they're saying here. So it would take you more than 33 years to eat 775 pounds of pizza. I write down more than because we know our answer was 33 years, remainder 16. So what this answer is telling us, students, is that it's not exactly going to be 33 years, and it's not actually going to be exactly 34 years. It's going to be somewhere in between these two numbers, because this remainder is it's showing you part of a new year that it would take you to eat the pizza. And this connects really well to this remember. It says, depending on the question, a remainder may or may not be used in the answer to the question. And our answer was, we put more than 33 years. Sometimes the quotient is adjusted based on the remainder. And we didn't yet adjust this quotient, but in our vocabulary that we used, more than, we're saying that it's going to be greater than 33 years. So this is something that's going to come up in the next couple lessons, so keep an eye out for that, students. Next, we're going to go on and we're going to do one more example together about Miles. So let's get started. Miles is helping his father with the supply order for his pizza shop. For next week, the shop will need 1,450 ounces of mozzarella cheese. Each package of cheese weighs 32 ounces. Complete Miles's work to find out how many packages of mozzarella cheese he needs to order. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with using multiples of 32, and 10 are the easiest to use. So we do 32 times 10, and we subtract this amount from the dividend, and we get 1,134. Again, we use the same multiple, 32, 10. 32 times 10 is 320. We subtract 1,130 minus 320, and we get 820. Again, we're going to use the same multiple. 32 times 10 equals 32. 810 minus 32 equals 490. Again, we're going to use the same multiple of 32 rather. 10 is the factor that we don't know. 490 minus 32 is equal to 170. So now right here, students, we can't use the 10th multiple of 32 anymore because it's too large, but we can use a smaller multiple. If we chop that 10 in half, we'd say, well, that would be the 5th multiple of 32. 32 times 5 is 160, and we get the remainder of 10. Now we go back up and we compare 10 to 32. Is 10 less than the divisor of 32? Yes, so we know that's going to be a part of the remainder. So now on the separate side, we're going to add up all of our partial quotients. Remember, our partial quotients were our unknown factor. So we have 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10 is 40, plus 5 is 45. So 1,450 divided by 32 is 45, remainder 10. So students, for this problem, this connects really well back to the last little remind. It says sometimes we're going to have to adjust the quotient depending on the remainder. So remember, the quotient in this problem is telling us how many packages of mozzarella cheese he needs to order. So according to this, he needs to order 45 whole packages. However, because there's a remainder left over, we know that he needs actually some more mozzarella cheese. He doesn't need one full more package. However, students, he's not going to be able to make a pizza if he doesn't have that extra mozzarella cheese. So although he doesn't need one whole full more amount, we're going to adjust this quotient and we're going to round it up to be 46 packages of cheese. And keep in mind, this means that the last package of cheese, the one more that he buys, he's not going to use all of that, but he's going to use part of that. So he still needs to buy a whole new package of cheese so he has enough for all the pizzas that he needs to make for his store. So we're going to do the same problem here, students, in class, but what we're going to do in class is we're going to solve it with using different partial quotients. So you'll see on this, so he needs to order 46 packages of mozzarella cheese. So remember, it says use different partial quotients to solve the same problem. So we notice the problem is the same. If we go back and we see the partial quotients, we had 10 and 10, 10 and 10, and then we had a 5. Well, we know if we add up these two partial quotients, we say, well, 20. Could we use 20 as a partial quotient? Let's try it out. So we have 20 times 32, and we get 640. And we subtract 640 from 1,450, and we get 810. Well, this multiple did work, so we're going to rewrite that on the side, on the other end of our dash line. So 20 was our first multiple. Again, if we go back to the original problem, we know that if we added maybe these 2 second tens together, we can get another multiple of 32, which would be 20 again. Let's try it out. 32 times 20 equals 640. That works. We can subtract that again. So we're going to rewrite that partial quotient on the side, again, 20. So we do 0 minus 0 is 0. We can't do 1 minus 0, so we're going to borrow 100. And we do 11 minus 4 is 7, and 7 minus 6 is 1. So now the multiple of 32 that we used before, which was the 20th multiple both times, doesn't work because it's too large. However, if we go back, we can see that this last little multiple that they used was 5. So why don't we try to use 5? So we have 32 times 5 is equal to 160, and we have the remainder of 10. Again, we write our partial quotient on the side and we add them up. 20 plus 20 is 40, plus 5 is 45, remainder 10. So we see we got this exact same answer. However, there were less steps because we used a larger multiple in this. So students, I want us to end with this math idea at the bottom of this page. It says, using different multiples of the divisor to find partial quotients provides many ways to solve a division problem. Some ways are quicker, but always result in the same answer. So this was quicker because how many steps do we have? 1, 2, 3. We got 45, remainder 10. Let's go back here. How many steps do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 45, remainder 10. Both ways got us at the same answer, but make sure you take notes on both and try your best. And if you need to use your multiplication chart, you can definitely do that at home with your homework.